Advent of Mahaprabhu. Jai Shri Gurudev. Gurudev. Looks like we're live now. So then the next chapter is describing the appearance of Mahaprabhu. Once the foundation has been set, the foundation of who Mahaprabhu is, the ontological, theological foundation has been set. Who Mahaprabhu is, what is all of the siddhanta, the conclusions behind all of this lila. And also honor has been given to Mahaprabhu and all of the associates of Mahaprabhu. So now the proper foundation, the proper mood has been set. Now then we are going to enter into the lila of Mahaprabhu. So that's coming up in the next chapter. So today we will finish here the 12th chapter. Let's see. Shri Jadunandana Char Jadwaitera Shaka Tar Shaka Upashaka Nahi Hoi Leka. The fifth branch of Advaita Charja was Shri Jadunandana Charja, who had so many branches and sub-branches that it is impossible to write of them. Vasudev Datte Teho Kripar Vajan Sarva Bhave Ashiyache Chetana Charan. Shri Jadunandana Charja was a student of Vasudev Dutt, and he received all his mercy. Therefore, he could accept Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet from all angles of vision as the supreme shelter. Jadunandana Charja. Yes, he is we hear about him as the guru of, he's like the family guru from the sounds of it, of Raghunath Das Goswami. He's mentioned on that occasion when Raghunath runs away from home, right? So he's actually one of the branches, so he must be a disciple of Advaita Charja. Oh no, it says that he was a student of Vasudev Dutt. Wait, what does it say? Oh, I don't understand. In the Bengali it doesn't say he's a student of, what does it say? Maybe he received mercy. It says he received mercy from Vasudev Dutt, and maybe he did learn from him. But he must be a disciple or some kind of a disciple of Advaita Charja. So, therefore he could accept Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet from all angles of vision as the supreme shelter. Or wholeheartedly, you could say. He could sarva bhave ashriyache chaitanya. He wholeheartedly, or in all respects, he took shelter of Mahaprabhu. Bhagavata Charja, Vishnu Dasa Charja, Chakrapaniya Charja, Ananta Charja. So this is a list of names, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th branches of Advaita Charja. Nandini Arkamadev Chaitanya Das, Durlabha Vishwas Vanamali Das. So this is also another list of names. 12th, 13th, 14th branches. Jagannath Koruar Koro Bhavanath, Hridayananda Senar Das Bolanath. More names. Jadav Das, Vijay Das, Das Janardan, Ananta Das, Kanu Pandit, Das Narayan, Shivatsa Pandit, Brahmachari Hari Das, Purushottam Brahmachari R. Krishna Das, Purushottam Pandit R. Raghunath, Vanamali Kavi Chandra R. Vaidyanath. These are all names. Lokanath Pandit R. Murari Pandit, Shri Hari Charanar Madhava Pundit. Vijay Pandidar Pandit Shri Ram Asankhya Advaita Shaka Kotaloy Bonam. So those names brings us up to the 36th branch. And then here, Vijay Pandit and Sri Ram Pandit were two important branches of Advaita Charja. There are innumerable branches, but I am unable to mention them all. Malidatta Jaladvaita Skanda Yogai Se Jale Jye Shaka Full Fall Pai. The Advaita Charja branch received the water supplied by the original gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, the sub-branches were nourished, and their fruits and flowers grew luxuriantly. Ihar madhye malipache kon shakagan, namane chaitanya mali dodaiva kadan. After the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some of the branches, for unfortunate reasons, deviated from his path. Chitailo, jiailo, tare namanilo, vitagna hoilo, tare skanda kruda hoilo. Some branches did not accept the original trunk that vitalized and maintained the entire tree. When they thus became ungrateful, the original trunk was angry at them. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because they're connected to one of the main branches, but they're not acknowledging the main trunk. So without acknowledging the original trunk that their branch is connected to, how will they get nourishment? No. The branch that they're connected to, that they are honoring, is getting its wealth from that original trunk. So if you overlook that trunk, original trunk, then you're not going to get anything. Kudoya skanda tade jalna sanjade, jalabhave krishna shaka shuka yamade. Thus Lord Chaitanya did not sprinkle upon them the water of his mercy, and they gradually withered and died. Chaitanya rahi deho shushka kashta sam, jivite mitase moile dande jam. A person without Krishna consciousness is no better than dry wood or a dead body. He is understood to be dead while living, and after death he is punishable by Jamaraj. Kevale gan prati nahe danda, chaitana vimukha jai seto pashanda. Not only the misguided descendant of Advaita Charja, but anyone who is against the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should be considered an atheist, subject to be punished by Jamaraj. Ki Pandit, ki Tapasvi, ki Bagrihi Jati, Chaitanya Vimukha Jai Tare Gati. Jai. Be he a learned scholar, a great ascetic, a successful householder, or a famous sannyasi, one who is against the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is destined to suffer the punishment meted out by Jamaraj. Jai Jai Loilo Shri Achyutananda Mata, Seya Charja Gan Mahabhagavata. The descendants of Advaita Charja who accepted the path of Sri Achyutananda were all great devotees. Seya Charja Kripar Bhajan, Anayase Pailo Se Chaitanya Charan. By the mercy of Advaita Charja, the devotees who strictly followed the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet without difficulty. Achyuta Jai Mata Se Mata Sa, Arojata Mata Sa Bhoilo Charakar. It should be concluded, therefore, that the path of Achyutananda is the essence of spiritual life. Those who did not follow this path simply scattered. Ch.Ch Ganemor Koti Namaskar Achyutananda Prai Chaitanya Jivan Jahar. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances millions of times to Achyutananda's actual followers, whose life and soul was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Eto Kohilo Acharya Gosair Gan Tin Skanda Shaka Koilo Sankepa Ganan. Thus I have briefly described the three branches, Achyutananda, Krishna, Mishra, and Gopal, of Sri Advaita Acharya's descendants. Shakopa Shakatar Nahiko Ganan Ichumacha Kohi Kori Digdadashan. There are multifarious branches and sub-branches of Advaita Acharya. It is very difficult to enumerate them fully. I have simply given a glimpse of the whole trunk and its branches and sub-branches. Okay, so that is the branches of the Advaita branch. And now we're going to hear about the branches of Guradhar Pundit. Shri Guradhar Pundit Shakate Mahotam Tarupa Shaka Kichu Korije Ganan. After describing the branches and sub-branches of Advaita Acharya, I shall now attempt to describe some of the descendants of Shri Guradhar Pundit, the most important among the branches. Shaka Shishta Juvananda Sridhar Brahmachari Bhagavata Charja Haridas Brahmachari. The chief branches of Shri Guradhar Pundit were 1. Sri Dhruvananda, 2. Sridhar Brahmachari, 3. Haridas Brahmachari, and 4. Raghunath Bhagavata Charja. Ananta Charja Kavidatta Mishra Nayan Gangamanchi Mamutakur Kanta Badan. The 5th branch was Ananta Acharya, the 6th Kavidatta, the 7th Nayan Mishra, the 8th Ganga Manchi, the 9th Mamu Thakur, and the 10th Kanta Baran. Bhugarba Gosayar Bhagavata Das Jai Duyasi Koilo Vrindavanevas. The 11th branch of Guradhar Goswami was Bhugarba Gosai, and the 12th was Bhagavat Das. Both of them went to Vrindavan and resided there for life. Vaninath Brahmachari Bodho Mahashoy Vallabha Chaitanya Das Krishna Premamoy. The 13th branch was Vaninath Brahmachari, and the 14th was Vallabha Chaitanya Das. Both of these great personalities were always filled with love of Krishna. Shina Chakravarti Uddhava Das Jita Mitra Kashtakata Jagannatha Das. So these are names, these are all different branches of the Guradhar tree. Sri Hari Acharya Sadi Puriya Gopal Krishna Dasa Brahmachari Pushpa Gopal. Some of these names are very unusual. You don't hear them. Pushpa Gopal, Pushpa's flower, flower Gopal. Sadi Puriya Gopal. I don't know, Sadi Puriya. I don't know what that means. There was another one here which was very charming. What was it? On the Advaita tree. Yeah, some variant. Oh yeah, Durlabha Vishwas. See, Durlabha means rare, and Vishwas means faith. So if you take that literally, like just as a Bengali phrase, it means rare faith, rare conviction, like that. So it sounds like maybe a special name he was given in recognition of his, like, maybe it wasn't his original name, but he was given that name at some point in honor of his strong faith, I suppose. Durlabha Vishwas. What's your name? I'm Durlabha Vishwas Das. I'm rare faith Das. And Pushpa Gopal, very beautiful. Jita Mitra, it's also an unusual name. Sri Harsha. Harsha means like smiling or maybe laughing also. Sri Harsha. I mean, maybe it's used as a name as well. I don't know. Maybe it was a nickname. I don't know. Sri Harsha Raghumishra Pandit Lakshminath Bhangavati Chaitanya Das Sri Raghunath. Amoga Pandit Asti Gopal Chaitanya Vallabh Jadu Gangulihar Mangal Vaishnav. This is the best one. Mangal Vaishnav. Mangal means auspicious. Right. So an auspicious Vaishnav. Yeah, so this is not his given name. Definitely not. I highly doubt it. These must be like special names that were given later. Maybe Guradhar Pundit gave him this name or something. Mangal Vaishnav. And Mangal, it's a word that's common. The word auspicious, we don't use in English so much, but Mangal, very commonly, or at least in the temple. Yeah. Maybe in the rest of Bengal, I don't know. But like goodness, like a good Vaishnava, good Vaishnava.
It's like a tautology.
What did you say?
Like a tautology.
Tell me what I've forgotten what that means. Tautology.
It's something like 2 + 2 = 4 when the first bit is the same as the last bit.
Oh, interesting.
So Mangala Vaishnava.
Uh-huh.
Also non-Mangala Vaishnava.
Uh-huh. Mangal Vaishnava. Chakravarti Shivananda Sada Braja Bhasi Mahashaka Manjateho Sudhida Vishwasi. Shivananda Chakravarti, the 33rd branch, who always lived in Vrindavan with firm conviction, is considered an important branch of Guradhar Pundit. Hito Sankepe Kohila Panditera Gan Aichaya Shaka Upashaka Ganan. Thus I have briefly described the branches and sub-branches of Guradhar Pundit. There are still many more that I have not mentioned here. Panditer Gansa Bhagavata Danya Pranavalabh Sabha Shri Krishna Chaitanya. All the followers of Guradhar Pundit are considered great devotees because they have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. Actually, I wonder if I didn't pay attention, because Haridas Pundit, I believe his name is, he's mentioned as the pujari at which temple in Vrindavan? Can't remember which temple, but he's the one, or he was one of the main Vaishnavas who specially requested Krishnadas Kaviraj to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's mentioned that he's a disciple or follower of Guradhar Pundit, I believe. But I don't know if I heard that here. Let me see. Maybe I missed it. Vaninath. Of course, it does say that it says there is a Haridas Brahmachari. I wonder if that's the one. Could be. Could be him. It doesn't give any detail on where he lived or anything. It could be him.
Maybe he's got a nickname. One of those names.
That's also possible. 18 skande koilu shakar ganan, jasabasmarane bhav banda vimochan. Simply by remembering the names of all these branches and sub-branches of the three trunks I have described, Nityananda, Advaita, and Guradhar, one attains freedom from the entanglement of material existence. This is the power of the Vaishnavas, just by remembering their names. This is also mentioned by Raghunath Das Goswami. Jasabasmarane pai chetana charan, jasabasmarane hoy vanchito poran. Simply by remembering the names of all these Vaishnavas, one can attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, simply by remembering their holy names, one achieves the fulfillment of all desires. Ateva tasabar vandye charan, Chaitanya malir kohi lila nukram. Therefore, offering my obeisances at the lotus feet of them all, I shall describe the pastimes of the gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in chronological order. Gaur lila mita sindhu apara gada, ke korite paretaha avagaha sada. The ocean of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is immeasurable and unfathomable. Who can have the courage to measure that great ocean? Tahar madhurya gande lubda hoi man, ataiva tate rohi chaki ekakan. It is not possible to dip into that great ocean, but its sweet mellow fragrance attracts my mind. I therefore stand on the shore of that ocean to try to taste but a drop of it. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Jarash, Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. So we finished the 12th chapter. Next chapter is describing the appearance. We can say this is kind of like the beginning in one sense. This is the foundation, like these chapters are the introductory chapters, the first 12. One way you could look at it. And this is like the start, where the Leela begins. And we actually sing one portion of these verses on Gaur Purnima Day. And we can listen. We have some recording of Gurudev chanting. We can listen to that when we come to that. Maybe it will be day after tomorrow. We still have some time.
Vishakha, did you say yesterday you heard about the Vaishnava the 5-year-old who got upset that
Achyutananda.
his father said that Mahaprabhu had a guru. But now the pastimes of Mahaprabhu are to begin in the book.
Oh, well, that was within the context of describing all of the branches of the tree of Advaita Acharya. You're following me? That chapter is describing, because you see, so really, these first 12 chapters, they are elaborating upon the first 12 verses or so of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, and amongst those first 12 or so verses, there's a dedication to, there's 2 or 3 verses dedicated to Nityananda Prabhu. There's a verse dedicated to Advaita Acharya.
Like a kind of prologue, sort of.
I mean, I'm not, what I'm saying doesn't need to be taken literally, like for the exam. You know, I'm just saying from one point of view, you could say. So let's go back here. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he described these first 12 verses as like the steel frame of Chaitanya Charitamrita. They're like they're setting the framework, or giving the foundation, like that. And then the first 12 chapters, they are elaborating upon these first 12 verses. Is it 12 verses or 13? Or let me check here. These pages are so thin. Yeah, then there's a verse 14. Is it 14? Yeah, maybe it's the first 14. There's also a verse, the Panchatattva verse is there. There's the famous verses which are describing Mahaprabhu's reasons for descending to this world, his internal reasons, his external reasons, private, public. These kinds of verses are here in these first 12, 14 verses. And then the following chapters, they are elaborating upon these verses. So that chapter we've just read is elaborating upon the associates, the expansions of Advaita and Guradhar. And so within that context, there's some Leela described also. But for the main part, it's giving you like a general overview of Advaita and his followers. Yeah, there's some Leela mixed in these first 12 chapters. It's not only giving the Siddhanta, and it's not only doing that. There is some Leela mixed in. But for the most part, it's describing the nature and the associates of these principal associates of the Lord. Yeah.
And then it goes into more chronological.
Yeah, then it begins. Then the chronology begins from chapter 13, and then it's primarily Leela, but then there's also Siddhanta mixed in as well. In particular, Rupa Shiksha, Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Shiksha, Ramananda Sambad. So there's Siddhanta there too, but perhaps more Leela. So yeah, these first 12 chapters, they can be a bit heavy going for that reason, that it is primarily describing the Siddhanta. Some parts are very actually difficult to understand. In particular, the one on Nityananda Ram, very difficult, describing all the expansions of Nityananda Prabhu, and it gets very technical sometimes. So, but it's very important because it's showing the dignity of what this is, what type, we're attracted to this beautiful golden Lord Chaitanya, who distributes Krishna Prema and Harinam Sankirtan, and it's very sweet and very beautiful, but there's so much philosophy behind that, There's so much, sophistication, complexity behind all of that. And so it's important that we approach with the proper mood of appreciation, not just it's like if you just jump to dessert without eating the substantial nutrients beforehand. You need to have your solid meal, your rice and vegetables, and then you can have your cake. So, but if you just go to eat the cake, then you might get sick. Then you turn into sahaja. Worst case scenario. It's the extreme of that. The sahajas, they're just imitating the surface level of things. They don't understand the substance and the depth that's behind. So.
This is the group of Guradhar who comes on our Harinam. It's from, I think, Tripura. They just dropped a sannyasi at the temple and they just all done come forward.
Okay.
Not Darshan. Come on in. Yeah. The bathing's going on, so the curtain.
Dandavad. Oh, what a nice surprise. Hare Krishna, welcome. Krishna. Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hello, Hare Krishna. Welcome. So how are you here all of a sudden?
Dropping off at the airport, our friend, one Maharaj from Argentina, he had some programs in
Is it Padmanabha Maharaj? Oh, I've heard of him. I saw an interview with him. Yeah, he's really something. I was very impressed. Okay, so he was just here in London.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's going back to Argentina.
To India right now.
He's going to India. Oh, wow. Wow, Mike, that sounds brave. To go to India, right? To Mayapur? Or
To
Bhubaneswar, okay. Wow, that's nice. Nice. And you all live in a London area, or?
Brighton.
You're Brighton. Okay. You came from Devon. Okay, that's a bit of a drive, isn't it? And yourself? Okay. Right. Well, we just we're going through Chaitanya Charitamrita. We just finished chapter 12. So like the first 12, it's kind of like a significant point here, because now the first 12 chapters are like the introductory portion of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then chapter 13 is starting with the Leela in a serious way, the chronology of the Leelas, beginning with the appearance of Mahaprabhu. We were discussing something about the introductory verses. So I don't want to move on yet, because that's an important starting point. But I just kind of wanted to have an overview of these first few verses. So these verses I was mentioning, I think it's the first 14. I think it's the first 14. Srila Sridhar Maharaj described as the steel frame of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the sense that they're like giving the framework, or they're setting the foundation. You know, they're giving the Siddhanta, they're describing the ontology upon which all of the Leela is taking place. So this first verse is giving honor to the Lord in his various manifestations, various energies, the Guru, Bhaktas, avatars, expansions, Shakti, and the Lord himself. Then there's explanation that the Brahmajyoti, of these three, that's like placing these three phases of the Absolute, Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Paramatma is also meant. Yeah, these three phases, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, they are being placed with, proper angle of vision. And then, Anarpita Chirim Chirat, Radha, Krishna, Pranaya Vikritir, Sri Radhaya, these three important verses which are describing the internal and external reasons for Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. These three verses are often quoted by our gurus. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verses honoring Nityananda Prabhu. That's pretty major. Then we have verse dedicated to Advaita Acharya, 2 verses dedicated to Advaita Acharya. And then we have Panchatattva. So I think it's actually these first 13 up to Advaita that are, then these verses step by step. It's very systematic. The way that Kaviraj Goswami presents things is very systematic. Because then in these following 12 chapters, he's step by step elaborating upon, he's going back and referring to this verse, and then this verse, and then elaborating upon them step by step in this very clear and systematic way. No, Kaviraj, as Srila Saraswati Thakur said, Chaitanya Charitamrita, greatest theological literature that has ever seen the light of day. It is extra. Like you have the poetry, like you have this beautiful, extraordinary, heart-melting poetry. You have the sweetness of Chaitanya Leela. You have the sentiments of, pure love, pure devotion from the heart of Kaviraj Goswami. And you have this perfect Siddhanta at the same time. I mean, it's incredible. It is you don't find this anywhere else. You don't find this anywhere else. Like to take by comparison, and not to, disrespect in any way, but just as a comparison, like Chaitanya Bhagavat is the other primary scripture of describing Mahaprabhu's appearance, which we read sometimes. And that, like the way our Gurudev described it, there's a verse of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. No, it's a verse of Saraswati Thakur. I think he's saying, like Bhakti Vinod described it as a Shuddha Grantha, like it is a pure scripture. Chaitanya Bhagavat is an absolutely pure scripture in the line of pure devotion. It is, in that sense, it is absolutely perfect. But he doesn't give like this type of ontology, this type of siddhanta, like this type of systemization that you find in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it is extraordinary, really extraordinary what is given here. So, and as we mentioned, these first chapters, they are a bit heavy going sometimes because there's so much siddhanta, so there's a lot of like technical things explained here. But it's important to have some appreciation for, what is behind all this sweetness, all of this wonderful leela, like what is behind that, like what is the philosophy behind that. Otherwise, people, they'll think that, we're just a bunch of lunatics who like to dance and like to sing. And some people do think that. And I've come across people like that. They're surprised. Like, oh, you actually have a philosophy? Like, I didn't realize that. No, actually, simple-hearted devotees, they don't need to know all these details, They're happy just to do kirtan, to do seva. That's enough, But for preaching purposes and for us to consolidate our own faith sometimes, then it's necessary to understand these things to some extent. At least get some sense of them. Well, we still have a few minutes. We usually finish at 8. Can you pass me a copy of Prapana Jivanamrita? I was thinking maybe. So are you gonna wait? You're waiting for darshan, is it? Okay. They think it should be finished. They're doing the bathing, so. I have a Prapana Jivan. I don't know, are you familiar with the text Prapana Jivanamrita? So I have a meeting on Wednesdays a Zoom meeting, we go through it, and I never prepare, So I was thinking maybe today I'll review the verses to be a little prepared. Oh, you know what? Actually, it's in my room. I'm sorry. Okay. If you go in my room on the right, there's that big white almirah on the top shelf. Okay. On the very top. Okay. Yeah. So you've read. You're all familiar with Prapana Jivanamrita? Or? Okay. You've heard of it maybe? It's a vaguely. Okay. It's a very special text compiled by Srila Sridhar Maharaj on the subject of surrender. Thank you very much. This is a very beautiful book also. Very unique and purely composed in Sanskrit. And what Srila Sridhar Maharaj has done, and he's going through the different limbs of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikuli viva, acceptance of the favorable, rejection of the unfavorable, to surrender and humility, to have confidence in the Lord's protection, to embrace the Lord's guardianship, all of these limbs of surrender. He's elaborating upon each of them with verses from the scriptures. He's illuminating the mood of these different aspects of Sharanagati, surrender, citing verses from the scripture. I mean, it's an incredible work. He also has a number of his own original Sanskrit verses in the text. And he also prefaces, each citation he prefaces with his own illumination, like drawing out what is the essence of that verse. And let's see, so we've been moving very slowly. We're still in the first chapter. This first chapter, it is like an introductory chapter, and it's 95% Srila Sridhar Maharaj's original verses. And there's like maybe 2 cited verses. So you're in luck, because we've come to this. This is like the sweetest part of this chapter. Okay, so we've reached chapter 15. Maybe just since you're here, I'll read these previous 3 verses as well, to give you a better sense of where we are. Atha Granta Parichaya, introduction to the book. Grantesmin parame nama prapana jivanamrite dasha jyaye prapananam jivana prana dayakam vardakam poshakam nityam ridindriya rasayanam ati marja rasolasa paraspada sukhavaham viraha milanartaptam Krishna karshna katamritam prapati vishayam vakyam chodritam shastra samatam. The substance expressed within the 10 chapters of this holy book, called Prapana Jivanamritam, gives life to the surrendered souls, affecting their eternal growth and nourishment. It is the panacea of the heart and spiritual senses, bestowing those dedicated devotees mutual happiness by the ever-increasingly newer and newer play of supramundane joy, a Prakrita Ras. Lord Krishna and his associates are portrayed in their natural pastimes of separation and union, and the line of unconditional surrender, as established by scriptures and saints, has been elucidated. So now this is where we are now, where we've come to chapter 15 to 22. It's like a chunk together. Atra chananya chittanam. Now you can hear how many times you hear the word Krishna here. You can keep your ears out. Atra chananya chittanam Krishna pada jojusham Krishna pada prapananam Krishnarte kila karmanam Krishna premaika lubdanam Krishna chishtaika jivinam Krishna sukaika vanchanam Krishna kinkada sevinam Krishna vicheda dagdanam, Krishna sangola sadhridam, Krishna swajana bandhunam, Krishnaika daitatmanam, Bhaktanam hridayodgati, marmagatam mitena cha, Bhaktarti hadabhakta sha, Bishta purti kanam tata, Sarva samshai chedi hrid. Very nice. The story is all doubt from the heart. Sarva samshai chedi hrid, Granti bij jnana basitam, Apurva rasa sambara chamatkari chachittakam viraha vyadi santapta bhakta chitta mahoshadam yukta yuktam parityajya bhaktartha kila cheshtitam atma pradana paryanta pratigyanta pratishutam bhakta premaika vashyasva swarupola sagoshitam purnash Vasakaram sakshat Govinda vachanamritam Samahritam bibantu bo Sadhava shuddhadarshana. Carefully compiled in this book is the nectar of the deep, heart-revealing, transcendental messages of those devotees whose hearts are unalloyed, who are servitors of the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna, who perform their every act for Krishna, who are filled with insatiable desire exclusively in love of Krishna, and sustain their lives on Krishna's remnants alone, who desire only Krishna's pleasure and serve the servants of Krishna, whose hearts burn in separation of Krishna and overflow with ecstasy in the association of Krishna, whose relative and friend is Krishna, and whose one and only beloved is Krishna. Along with these expressions of the devotees are carefully collected the words of supreme nectar, springing directly from the lotus mouth of Lord Govinda, which vanquish the heartbreak of the devotees. So the first, what is it? So there's like these 6 chapters which are dedicated to called Bhakta Vachanamrita, the nectar of the words of the devotees, which are describing the mood of the devotees, their various moods in their approach to the Lord. And then in the 10th chapter, Bhagavad Vachanamrita, then we have many verses from the scriptures where the Lord, it's like the Lord is responding to his devotees. He's giving his reassurance to his devotees, expressing his deep love for his devotees. So there's this wonderful interplay that we see here between the devotees and the Lord. So where was I? Which vanquish the heartbreak of the devotees, which fulfill the devotees' hopes and earnest aspirations, which destroy all doubt and sever the knot of ignorance, which are dazzling with transcendental wisdom, and astonish the heart by miraculous waves of divine rapture, which are the great panacea for the devotee's heart afflicted with the piercing pangs of separation, which are incited wholly for the devotee, irrespective of his qualification or disqualification. So much so that the Lord is bound by his pledge to give himself to his devotee, and which openly proclaim with great ecstasy that his very nature is to be subjugated solely by the affection of his devotee. And this is the acme, this is like the highest point in the Lord's relationship with his devotees, where he becomes controlled by his devotee. He becomes subjugated by the affection of his devotee. Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned that Saraswati Thakur, he pointed out, this is where we find the real significance of devotion. And this is the evidence of real devotion, that the Lord becomes conquered by such a devotee. Shri Krishna Karshini, Shri Krishna Karshini Chasa, mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He's giving these 6 characteristics of devotion. And this is the last that he mentions, that it is the attractor of the Lord himself. And the Lord himself will come under the influence of that devotee. What is that? I was trying to remember the other day that famous verse, Ambarish. Maybe someone here remembers. Ambarish Maharaj. What is that famous verse? The Lord speaking to Ambarish. Oh, I can't remember now. If she wants to eat something, there's some prasadam, or maybe she's getting, I'm sorry. She's tired. You came early to the airport, yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe if she wants, there should be some prasadam, if that helps. Or she can lay down as well. What is it? I can't believe I forgot that verse. What is that verse? That's it. Aham bhakta paradino hyasvatancha iva dvija sarubir grasta hridayo bhakter bhakta janapriyam. Oh, my dear Brahman, I am subordinate. This is that, occasion when Durvasa Muni, he was, how shall we say, unappreciative of Ambarish Maharaj's position. And he eventually he had the Sudarshan chakra chasing after him, and he's looking for. He runs to Brahma, runs to Shiva, finally runs to Vishnu. Help me, and Vishnu, Narayan is, I can't do anything. The Sudarshan chakra, he has his own will. And anyway, you have to go. You've offended my pure devotee. You should go and apologize to him. And I consider my devotees more than myself. I am subordinate to my devotee. And therefore, I am like one who has no independence. Yasvatantra eva dvija. The sadhu devotees have captured my heart, and not to speak of my devotees, those who are devoted to my devotees are also dear to me. Aham bhakta paradino yasvatantra eva dvija sadhubir grasta hridaya. They've captured my heart. Bhakter bhakta janapriya. Okay, we'll just finish this translation here. His very nature is to be subjugated solely by the affection of his devotee, reassuring his devotees in all circumstances. O pure and spotless devotees, may you drink deeply the quintessence of these divine elixirs. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today, this morning. Jai Shri Shri Papana Jivanamritam Ki Jai. Okay. We'll sing Hari Harai Nama Krishna. Do you need the book? Or we have books here if you need. Page 60. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Hari Gopinatha Madana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Dakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Bhagavan Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki Jai, Jai Shri Bhakti Nirmala Charja Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Guru Guranga Radha Giridhari Ju ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi. No, I'm all mixed up now. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Shri Shad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Navadip Dham ki Jai, Shri Ganga Jamuna ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Tulasi Devi ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopra Gopi Shama Kundada Kund Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Jai, Vishwavyapi Tadya Shaka Mat ki Jai. Shri, any special day today? Not sure. Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Itai Gaur Premanand, Haribo. Our special Vaishnava guests ki Jai.
Thank you.
Very happy you could join us this morning.
Thank you.
And happy surprise. I'm sure we can round up some prasadam for you. Yeah. At least we'll have some like bread